Well, he was supposed to be joining us in the Great White North back in June, but the fight was rescheduled. Yourself versus Khalil Rountree. Appreciate you doing this. I was mentioning to you before we started, I feel like you need to take a picture of you and Kyle next to each other when he weighs more than you, because
Yeah.
people always call you the big Daukaus, and he's like your younger brother, but he can be for like a couple minutes the big Daukaus.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to be the bigger Daukus for hopefully all of 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever it is. That's going to be getting me to weigh in at 206, 205, whatever I weigh in at. But yeah, I'll definitely get that done, and then I'll post it all over social media, and I'll be sure to tag you in it.
I'm not sure I've ever asked a fighter this, but how quickly does the weight come back on? Like if you're of course
Yeah,
dehydrated basically to 206 or
yeah,
205 or whatever it is, like and you
yeah.
start eating snacks, like how quickly do you replenish?
Really, I'm not really eating anything for like the first like 4 hours, 5 hours. I mean, it's all liquids that you're just trying to just rehydrate yourself. So with that, dude, I've seen people like put on like 20 pounds just in just in water, just in like the rehydration drinks in 2 hours, 3 hours. So it really just depends, I think, on the person's body and they're naturally like how they're going to be able to rehydrate. So I think it's kind of like a based off of fighter to fighter thing.
So if you were to guess, like 4 hours after you weigh in, if you're drinking
Yeah.
just water and Pedialyte, like what would you weigh 4 hours later?
Oh, I'm probably going to be back up to probably like 220, 225. Probably. I mean, I don't want to overestimate myself or like anything like that, but I mean, just the just from the previous test cuts and everything like that, and previously making 205 and 206, that's just like kind of around where I would get before I started having food. And then you don't want to get too heavy, so then you just have to limit, making sure that you're not getting bloated and you know getting too hydrated and too full to where you can't perform.
Yeah, so I feel like like Alex Pereira recently was 185. Oh, sorry, he was 205 recently in the first fight against Jan, and then
205.
I think like maybe 10 hours later he posted that he was like 229 or something. And people are making this big deal about it, but it's really not that big of a deal, I guess, from what you're saying here.
No, that's what I think that people don't realize is fighters are generally big. The dehydration part, if it's done correctly, if it's done by a professional, with the help of professionals who specialize in weight cuts and nutrition, especially for fighting, the the majority of your weight should be lost during training camp. Like if you, for whatever reason, you get out of shape, you're coming off an injury or coming off a layoff, whatever it is, um, and you're bigger, the majority of your weight should be coming off, um, you know, 8 weeks out, 10 weeks out, whatever it is, so that you're not struggling during fight week. That's the last thing you want, and I think that's what the people don't realize is you fill your body up on fight week pretty much with as much water as you can, so that is what you know gets taken out of your body, so that you're not like looking to cut body fat because it's just not going to happen. You're going to lose muscle mass, obviously. Like Pereira, um, for his 85 cuts, he's definitely lost muscle mass. There's no doubt about it. I mean, he looked shredded at 85 if he had less than 10% body fat, maybe less than 5% body fat. But that's kind of what people don't realize is like this is scientific, and you have to be scientific about it, or else you're just going to pay the consequences.
Now, I heard you on Brendan Fitzgerald's podcast this past week. It
Yeah,
came out, and you were talking about how at 205 pounds you're actually eating more than you would if you were preparing for a
yeah,
heavyweight fight, just eating better. So, what's your diet like
yeah.
at 205, and why is that the case?
Just because I stopped playing around and actually took the whole diet thing seriously. You know, diet's really just been natural foods, whole foods, nothing really processed. All organic stuff. I mean, I generally eat that stuff anyway. But as a heavyweight, I was going to practice and I'd be coming home and I'd be bringing a pizza home or bringing a cheesesteak home or whatever I was doing. So that's completely gone out the window. Uh, but yeah, the diet's been well-rounded, whole foods, just making sure I get all my vitamins and everything that I need as best as I can in the foods that I'm eating. So I don't truly have to supplement anything, and just really making my body feel really good.
And you hit a bit of a losing streak at heavyweight. Did you feel like you hit
Yeah.
a bit of a ceiling at heavyweight based on the size of your opponents? Like being at such a
Yeah,
big weight disadvantage to heavyweights, where if you're fighting at light heavyweight, I mean, the biggest disadvantage you'll have is 5, 6 pounds as opposed to 60
yeah,
pounds at heavyweight.
yeah. And I think that's kind of like what everyone's seen, and what I kind of realized was like there was a point of diminishing return, right? I was fighting the top guys, and the top guys in the UFC are generally the biggest guys. There are the outliers. I wanted to believe that I could have been one of those outliers in the sport, but if I'm being realistic about it and my career, that's just not it. So yeah, so those guys are huge. But like you said, the going to light heavyweight, the sizes should be similar. Like you said, without 5 to 6 pounds on depending on how I rehydrate, refuel, depending on how he rehydrates, he refuels and stuff like that. So the the gap in the size difference is not going to be there. It'll just be based off of obviously the things that matter in a fight: skill, technique, cardio, things like that. Decision making in those rough processes.
I'm not sure if you saw this past weekend's card. Tanner Bozer is another individual like yourself who was weighing
Yeah,
in like the 225, 230, 235 range
yeah,
at heavyweight. Moved down to light heavyweight. His first one didn't go his way, but this past weekend
yep,
looked great. So, what kind of a takeaway
yeah.
do you get from seeing fighters like yourself make that move?
That it's possible that the years at heavyweight that it doesn't take a too much of a toll on your body. I watched that fight. They beat the ever living crap out of each other. It was a really good fight. I enjoyed it definitely. But yeah, like just seeing that guys are doing it, that it's possible that this isn't like maybe I'll go down to light heavyweight and we'll see what happens. No, I'm here to win, and that's what I'm gonna do.
When you go on a losing streak like the one you did, after going on such a big winning streak before that,
Yeah,
tell me about how life changes for you on social media. Like you touched on this a little bit with Brendan Fitzgerald, but how do you deal with that? Because it's just it is the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, both
yeah,
in the cage and then also outside of the cage. What do you have
yeah.
to do in order to adjust to how you're being treated as a human being?
Really, it's like you said, it's the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. It absolutely sucks. When I'm on the losing streak, anytime I really like post anything or do anything like that, you always have people chirping at you, saying, you suck, or they're tagging you in, videos of you getting stopped and all that. So it definitely sucks, but you just have to, realize that these people wouldn't be saying that to you if they're face to face. That's a glimpse of who you are as a person, of who you are as an athlete and a professional fighter. And it's just negativity that you don't need. And I try to, shut that out as best as I can with staying off of social media. I mean, I understand that social media is a major driving force in fighting. It's everything, like UFC has the TV deals, but the majority of the content generally gets pushed on social media. So you have to be engaged. You have to be engaging with the fans. And like I said, people are going to be always, taking you and putting your worst moment in, your last fight out there for everyone to see, and just trying to like further just drop you down. And as long as you can, try and tune that out as best as you can, and that's really just what I've been trying to do, and it's been really good for me. So
Does it? I mean, I hate to ask this question, but does it get easier with each loss? Obviously, the losses don't get easier,
no,
but does dealing with it get any
no,
easier?
no, it just sucks, man. It absolutely sucks. I hate losing. I hate losing anything. Really, a competition with uh, my wife, my brother, any relative or a teammate, and literally anything. Like we play pop darts here. Like I'm out of Vegas now, obviously because of the fight week. But like we play pop darts. Like when we're playing, like I absolutely hate losing, but I can't like yell or anything. Like I can't do any of that. So like I can't just like start fist fighting like my training partners. So yeah. So it's just that's just who I am, and it doesn't get any easier, man. It's still this like burning like nagging thing that's always around, and it's always like surrounding you. You know what I mean? It's just always there, and you just have to get that win. And that's like a driving force. Is I don't want to feel like this again. Um, you want that glory, you want that. I just want to prove that I'm one of the best fighters in the world, and I can do that on Saturday night, and I can't wait to do that. And if I'm, all my P's and Q's, it's going to go my way, and I honestly can't wait.
Yeah, just to clarify, I don't mean the losing part itself. Losing obviously never gets
Losing
any easier.
sucks.
It's just more
Yeah.
the feedback. Like, does the feedback get easier to
The
handle?
feedback sucks. No, it doesn't.
Okay.
No, it doesn't. Not at all. No, the feedback, because whether it's the first loss or the third loss, it doesn't matter. It still stings the same. Um, and people are just I guess it kind of gets a little worse because one loss is a loss, people lose, and then all of a sudden it's the two, and then it's the three, and then people are like just piling on more and more and more and more, and it's you know one thing on top of another. You start to feel like crushed with the weight of every notification you get on your phone. Like, I stopped turning notifications on my phone. Like, I stopped. The only notifications I get are text messages or phone calls. Everything else, like all social media platforms, they're all muted. I don't do anything like that, just because anything I would get, I'd be like, oh, maybe it's like my wife sending me something. Maybe it's my wife sending me a meme or something. Like, no, it's like some dude in like Omaha, Nebraska, tagging me in the video of Derek Lewis stopping me, and I'm like, dude, I don't need to see this. Like, my son's over here. I'm trying to enjoy time with my family, or I'm out on a walk and like my phone goes off. I'm like, oh, what's that? It's like, oh, it's you getting stopped by Curtis Blade. It's like, oh, cool. Yeah, I'm just ruin my little family time. So it just sucks, man.
See, if I was a manager, I would hire an AI person to just send you your highlights, like as an anonymous, like send all of the clients like their best highlights. And be like,
Dude,
did you see what you did on national TV where you stopped this guy in
dude,
under a minute?
I know. That's good. I should hit my manager up. I'll tag him in this, and then tell him to get on that about
Because you did do
about
those
doing
things,
that.
Chris. You did do those
Yeah,
things.
yeah, exactly, right. Like you said, highs are highs and lows are lows. You need both.
The fans have short-term memories, but AI does not have a short-term memory because you can just
There you go.
get it to do exactly what it needs to do and what it's designed to do.
That's right.
But I mean, we all are hoping to see. Though I think that fans want to see you succeed. But at their core, I think that fans want to
Yeah.
see the fighters succeed. I don't know why people. I don't know if it's like a sports betting thing or something like that that gets people so angry at these fighters. Like Terrence McKinney's on the card with you this weekend.
Yeah.
And when he lost
Yeah.
his last fight, I went and just looked at his mentions. I looked up his username to see what people
Yeah.
were saying. And I was like, I do not know how fighters are able to cope with this on top of the loss itself, which sucks.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
like, it's just, to me, I think it just shows the worst of humanity that people are willing to pile on people for taking the risk in a public setting
Yeah.
where that outcome is a possibility, and also a great win is also a possibility.
Yeah, and that's really why we do it, right? We do it because we're chasing that I want to show the world, or I want to prove to myself that I'm better than this person. I'm a better fighter than this person. That's what I'm doing. But when you do that in today's modern sport, and things come along, and that's with, like you're saying, everyone's mentions after a loss, or you know any kind of thing. It's just the worst of humanity, just trashing this individual. Like, and it's the worst, dude. Like I was saying with the notification things, like I would literally just get a notification, especially like on Twitter, and I'd just like scroll, and I would just be like, all right, they're all gone, all right, I'm done with it. And it'd be like a week and a half's worth of like every day, just like get notifications, and it'd be like, all right, I'm checking, I'm getting rid of them, checking, getting rid of them, just doing that. And that's just really just how I dealt with it. Just you know I accepted it, and you know just moving on. But people are the worst. Some people are the worst. It's just it's easier to kick somebody when they're down, and the old saying. But that's just how it is, and social media just makes it that much more easier. It just makes it that much more accessible. Because like, do you think like is it the same in other pro sports? Like everyone, Aaron Rodgers has a bad game, and people obviously are going to start on Aaron Rodgers. But is it like that? Like, where I feel like MMA fighters, especially fighters in the UFC, are that much closer to the fans than a pro fighter, pro football player, or like a pro basketball player. Like, you could see us doing whatever. You can like hit me up on Twitter or Instagram, and I'll respond. But you hit up LeBron or Aaron Rodgers or someone, they're not going to respond. And I think that's what drives some of the hate that a lot of people are putting out, is that they know that they could possibly reach us.
Well, the difference is also the downtime, right? Like if you're in baseball and you strike out 4 times in a game, you still got like the next day you can bounce back, right? Like
Yeah, or you have like
basketball.
160 games in a season. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like, however many games are in a baseball season. Like, you have, like, yeah, I had a bad day. It's no big deal. I had a bad day. I can play baseball again, the next week, and I can rock 3 home runs and be the king of the world, you know? So I also think it's the nature of the sport, like you said, the time off, because depending on the fighters and everything, you know, some fighters only fight once a year. Some fighters are trying to fight as many as 3 or 4 times a year. I think it just all depends on how their body holds up, and you know, we'll see.
And are you able to use that as fuel because of the downtime? Like you get angry, you get these
Yeah,
responses, and then you're like, I'll show these people, and you have time to really
yeah,
kind of put your best foot forward in camp as a result of getting that kind of fuel.
yeah. That's definitely a driving factor, but that can't be like your only factor. You know what I mean? Like you have to want to do this internally. Like you have to have something else that's driving you to do this, whether like you said, it's that, or the drive to provide for your family, the need to prove to yourself that you're not who you people say you are, or whatever it is. But yeah, you just need that, also like that other driving force, I think.
Now, Kyle has won a fight since he was not re-signed by the UFC. He wasn't released, but
Yep,
wasn't re-signed by the UFC. How soon do we
yep.
do we see him back? Because I think he's got another one coming up soon.
He is fighting September 2nd. He's fighting for the CFFC belt. um he should have fought for it, his first fight, after the UFC, but I believe that the champ was hurt at the time, so they decided to give him a fight. He had a lot of guys turn that fight down. A lot of people who were high level guys, who were former UFC fighters or Bellator fighters, whatever, that turned the fight down. And it was kind of like a little weird. Like you look at the names of the guys who turned it down and like their records, and you kind of like were shocked that they turned it down. But that's just a testament to the type of fight that they know that they're going to get into when they fight my brother. So yeah, so September 2nd, he is fighting for CFC's belt. Really excited. He's going to go out there and get the belt, and then we'll see what happens with this whole MMA landscape, about what's going on with other promotions, what's going on with the UFC. If he's going to get a short notice call, if they're just going to call him and offer him a contract again. So I'm not really sure what the game plan is, but I think it's right now it's just get the belt and then wait on the phone and see what's up.
Well, historically, we've seen champions in LFA and CFFC. It's almost been a golden ticket to get to at least one
Yeah,
major promotion or other. So I wish him all the
yeah.
best. I wish you all the best this weekend.
Thank you.
Your first light heavyweight fight in the UFC against Khalil
Yep.
Rountree Jr. Wish it would have been in Vancouver in our backyard, but we
You and me
appreciate it.
both.
Yeah, we appreciate getting to see you do your thing nonetheless. Send my best to Kyle and look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Will do. Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me. Have a good one.